going to be funny.
No, it's gonna be
the lights okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Good afternoon, folks. Welcome. This is FMA Discussion. We are on episode 135, and today I'll be assisted by Julius, who has also questions and all that. And we are so fortunate today to have, in my opinion, the trendsetter as far as documenting, masters in the Filipino martial arts and all that. And that is none other than Stephen Dowd. Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. Okay, right. Let's go.
So, so you're in Nevada. What's going on with the COVID? I mean, are you masked the whole 9 yards? What's going on?
You don't want my personal opinion about that.
we can. That's okay. We can. But let's, before we get into the digest and the journey, I definitely want to cover, because most people, unfortunately, just know you for that, but they don't really understand your contribution to the FMA community as far as Arnis Balite, Kuntaw under Carlito Lanata and all that. And I thought that'd be a good place to start. So then Julius got an immediate question. So my first question is, before we get to Julius, is what got you into FMA? I mean, I know you were in the Navy, but what kind of what made you go playing with sticks?
Okay, well, let's see. I was stationed at San Miguel Communication Station, San Antonio, Zambales in the Philippines. I was like every other Navy guy, I guess, or I was a bosun mate at the time. So what I did was I worked, I drank, and I played with the girlies. So your health doesn't go too well if that's all you're doing, correct? No. So I had a friend who says, hey, I'm taking some martial arts from this one guy. And I said, okay. He says, why don't you join me? I said, okay. So I went there and I started with him. And of course he quit, but I kept on because I said, hey man, this is pretty cool. In fact, the first 3 months I started, because I started with Kuntaw, or I started with Trackman, to tell you the truth. But either way, when I first started, it was like, I couldn't do anything right. I had 2 left feet. I had 2 left hands. I couldn't do a damn thing right. I couldn't understand things or anything like that. And so for 3 months of getting my ass kicked, falling down most pleasantly, a light bulb came on and says, yo, this is cool stuff. So after that, everything just kind of came in. And at the end of our lessons, I'd say, is that all you got? You ain't got no more? What's wrong with you? Give me some more. Come on. So that's what got me into it. Now, you have to understand that I was in TRACMA, which was Troubadour Ramos Consolidated Martial Arts of Real Combat Judo Karate. He was very hardcore. They did some amazing things. My instructor was Fred Zabala. And they really didn't talk about any other kind of martial art. Now, in San Miguel, they had Shotokan and Shoten-ryu. And Ram get along with a lot of the Grand Masters or Masters or whatever you want to call them in Shotokan and Shoten-ryu. So he was always challenging them when he came to the Philippines. Because if anybody knows anything about Troubadour Ramos, he left San Antonio to go to Hong Kong to play with his brothers in a band. He played saxophone. He got in the movies there. He trained there, trained other people there. And once in a while, he'd come back to Manila. He'd be in charge of a church's security, big church, humongous church in Manila, and make his movies there. And he'd end up challenging a lot of Shotokan grandmasters. So they would all want us to come down and play the game and fight and such. All right, so that was wonderful. Whoopee, because most of the time Shotokan wouldn't show up, and all we'd have was Trackma there.
Okay.
So then in Kuntaw, who Grandmaster Lanada did not like Ramos, and Ramos did not like Lanada. Kuntaw, I got into that, and it was a private lesson. I spent big bucks on that, like 15 pesos a month for private lessons.
You gotta be kidding
And
me.
it was like seven pesos to the dollar at the time. So
What year? I'm sorry, Steve. What year was this about? What year?
This was 1970.
15 pesos. My goodness.
Wow.
Yeah. Also in Kuntaw, once you went to the school where Lanada was actually teaching, because I started actually in San Miguel. When you went to the school, you would give 30 pesos a month. And like on the Victory Liners, you know, they click on, they punch a hole in your ticket to show that you're taking the ride. Well, every time you entered class, you would get your ticket punched because they gave you a ticket. So it cost you about 2 pesos a lesson. Lessons were from 6 at night till 9 at night. Now, when I did the private lessons, whether in Kuntaw or in Trackma, I also got to go to the schools if there was a school there. So like I would train at 9 o'clock, and then I had a hard, tremendously job. You know, it was so hard. I worked at from 6 at night till midnight, 4 days on, 4 days off. It was a rough time, you know, Armed Forces Police at the time, taking care of all my buddy drunks and stuff. And so I would have training 9 in the morning till 11. Then I could go to the schools at 2 when they had training. Then I could go at 6 at night. And that was for 15 pesos a month.
50. So that, all right. So that's about, at that time, $2 a month. Am I right?
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's,
okay. So then we'll take it from there. I was going around the gym. In fact, when I made black belt in Trackma, it's usually a private thing. Well, they had at San Miguel Comm Station in the gym, they had my test there. And only black belts, so I had 8 black belts and me. And I had a picture somewhere. I'd have to really look for it because they kind of like beat me up a lot. But I passed. And anyway, at San Miguel, there was a little guy, maybe about 5 foot, named Manny Aguilian. And we got talking one time, and he told me he taught Arnis Balite. Okay. So I said, well, let's try it. So when he would get off work, because he worked on base, he already retired. He worked for the military, of course, during the war. He worked for, you know, the guerrillas and stuff. Before the war, he was a champion boxer. During the war, he learned sticks and bolos and stuff like this. And he says, hey, this is kind of cool. So he mixed boxing with Arnis.
Didn't somebody here in America do that?
I don't know if they do that here.
Lakai, right?
Yeah, quite a few people. Lakai is one of them.
And so he mixed boxing with Arnis Balite. And so he used to teach me in my living room because I lived on base. I moved on base, so he would teach me up there when he got off work. Once in a while, I'd go out to his house, and I would be with his little group, which was really nothing because you got to understand, Trackma had schools, Kuntaw had schools, Arnis Balite had his house.
Really?
Okay. Yes, because he was very stringent on accepting students. If you had an attitude, he didn't want you. If he would answer any question that you wanted to ask. And he would explain it several ways if you couldn't get it. If you sat there and denied it and said, well, I just don't agree with you, this and that, he'd say, okay, class is over. And he'd leave, and everybody would leave or whatever. And and so you'd notice the next class, that guy wasn't there because he wasn't told when the next class was. Asking Agilian that, Agilian said, I'm not here. He says, I don't charge anything. I never got charged by him. It was free all the time.
Whole time?
And he says, I'm not here to argue. I'm here to pass on an art. If you want to argue, go to Joe Blow down the road, argue with him while you're giving him money for training.
Yeah.
Because he'll argue with you. He says, I'm not
because there's being money. Because there's being money passed. So
and since he used to be law enforcement in San Antonio, of course he knew everybody in San Narciso, San Marcelino, San Antonio, all these places. So if the bad boy from the barrio or whatever would come, he wouldn't teach them either. Because this was kind of like for a self thing, you know? And the thing about him is all the time he was law enforcement, he never used his gun. If they had guys with bolos and stuff like this, they would call him, even if he's off duty. And he had a way of talking to you. He never had to do anything. He would just, the situation would just go away.
Verbal jiu-jitsu, huh? Wow.
Yes. And he was very good in teaching the School of Hard Knocks. Of course, back then you didn't have all this gear that you wear now, right? You didn't have the helmet and the body armor and all this other stuff and padded sticks.
Julius,
if you were lucky and could afford it, you had a mouth guard.
Otherwise, Dave. I'm sorry, Steve.
Yes.
Julius had a question about Arnis Balite that he wanted to ask.
Okay.
Yeah, sir. Concerning that, because there's so many different schools and FMA systems, Filipino martial arts systems. What attributes sets Arnis Balite apart from other styles that you have? Because you've seen other FMAers, you've seen other Filipino martial artists. What were the defining characteristics and attributes of Arnis Balite?
Okay, Arnis Balite, like I said, it's a combination of boxing and Arnis. All right. And it's a very basic art. There's nothing fancy. We don't believe in disarming like other styles. We do what we call huli lusab, capture, trap, and control, or capture, trap, and attack. Okay, so I'm going to capture, I'm going to trap you, and then I'm going to do whatever. What I used to tell people when I did this is I would capture them, I'd trap them, and of course, trapping them, you're in close. So I would always tell them to worry about huli lusab, because if you smell good, I might kiss you. If you don't, I'm going to hurt you. Did he get that?
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. So can you just repeat the phrase? Hule means to trap, and then lusob means to attack. So what was the phrase again? Hule.
You're not coming in loud enough.
Oh, sorry.
Can you
use a specific term in Tagalog. You said it's a hule lusob.
Yes.
Okay. That's all.
Okay, he wasn't bad in English. He wasn't good, but he wasn't bad. And so we used a little Tagalog and stuff. Of course, my not being in the Philippines for a couple years now, my Tagalog sucks because I have nobody to really, any Filipino that comes from the Philippines and is here in the States for a while, if they're not talking to a bunch of other Filipinos, you kind of lose it. You lose a lot of words on how to say them correctly and stuff like this. So little things that I do it. Anyway, to get back to it, Arnis Balite is real simple. You see people go to, and I'm sure you've both been there, demonstrations or seminars. And I've written about this in my ranking issue in FMA Informative. Usually they show you this stuff that looks so good, makes you want to join, makes you want to get in there and do it, right? All right. Then 5 minutes later, you forget it because it was too fancy and too complicated. When I give a seminar, and I'm the only one that's ever given seminars in Arnis Balite, it's very simple. It's very practical. There's nothing fancy about it. You want fancy, go down and pay a lot of money. Okay? Hold on a minute. Just hold on just a second.
Oh, sure, sure.
I'm going to try to log on with my laptop, Dean.
Okay. Julius will be coming back. He is going to, and we got Frank. Hey, Richard, Maestro Alvin, Emmanuel from France. All right, Eric Lieutenant. We got Brian, Maestro Dan, and yeah, Brian, definitely.
Okay, I'm back. I spilled my coffee, so I had to get a rag to get it real quick. Yeah, I know, man. That's really bad for a bosun mate, spilling coffee. I'd be over here licking it up so I don't waste it, but you know, I'm on with you, so I won't do that.
Okay.
But it's very simple. In fact, usually at a seminar, I've been fortunate and had quite a few seminars, and my belief professionally is that I was asked to do seminars because I was the FMA Digest and FMA Informative, not because I was Arnis Balite. It's a good way to suck up, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm just being honest and truthful. There were some that were pretty good. You couldn't beat my prices. Usually, you know, I don't fly in the States. So I'm cleaning as I'm talking. I don't fly in the States. I drive everywhere. And so in doing so, that's my gas money. And usually I drive there. I get the hotel. I'll do the seminar. If the only problem I have in doing a seminar is usually you got to beat me to death to stop because I'm oblivious to time once I'm teaching. In fact, I was in New Hampshire one time that we were talking there in the past, and I was teaching, and the guy comes up and he goes, "Are you going to end pretty soon?" I said, "I'm in anytime you want. Just, you know, let me have 10 minutes. Let me know 10 minutes so I can put in my little, hey, man, did you enjoy this type of thing?" You know. And he says, "Well, a lot of these people have to go to work." And I said, "Yes, I understand that." He says, "Well, you're only about an hour and a half over time." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." So I ended it abruptly, quickly. But usually my message to people that come to my seminars is, now that you've explained some of the, you know, you've done some of the basic Arnis Balite here, I'm hoping that you can remember some of it because it was very basic, nothing really fancy. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did not, then you know not to come back and bother me again. And that was about the end of that. You know, because my attitude is like a Helian's. If you want to know it, fine. If you don't, go away. I'm not out to prove nothing. I mean, I can take anybody in the world. My brothers, Smith and Wesson, you know, if I can't do you, if I can't sneak up behind you and get you, my brothers can do it. All right? So, but all that aside, the thing of it, Arnis Balite is we're not out to prove. It's for health, well-being, self-confidence, and to me, of course, it's a good self-defense.
Mm.
Mm.
Maestro, we got Steve. We got GM Dan Medina here and GM Dan Anderson saying hello.
Shout out to Eric O'Brien, Blue Tank,
Yeah.
Dirty South Chapter, the Dirty.
Okay, well, Dan Anderson, I met him before. He's good guy. Dan Medina, he gave a lot to the digest. He gave a lot to the informative. Great guy. Talked to him several times on the phone. Unfortunately, is that a word? My wife tells me that's not a word.
We'll let it fly.
Okay. I talked to him on the phone. Unfortunately, I was never able to meet Dan Medina, and I really always wanted to. But both of them gentlemen are great people, really great people. I would recommend anybody to go visit with them and see if you want to do it.
Now, they've both been on the show.
Yeah.
Very supportive of the channel. Matter of fact, we're having a raffle. Both contribute to it. Top notch. Both GMs, top notch people.
Maybe we could do something about that because you're in Nevada, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Dan, GM Dan, you heard that? Visit him.
And GM,
I won't tell you about Nevada now. I ain't in Las Vegas.
Of course.
I'm not in Reno. I'm in the oasis of the desert. A little town with a couple palm trees. That makes us an oasis, you see. We got a lot of little people running around and stuff. And we got one little military base, air base, naval air station. So like nobody comes here. The reason we see people is because we got two highways that go through the town. If you blink too hard, you're going to miss it. And we do have a few gas stations though. So we do get some stops. But both those gentlemen are great people.
Class acts. Yep.
Class.
There's a lot of great people in the FMA. Of course, there's a lot of slouches and bozos too, but there's a lot of great people in the FMA. And I've run into both. Some are not known. Let me see if I can bring this up. Turn this over here.
I'm having a great time.
Well, I knew this was going to have an absolute entertaining value, an element that no other man would bring.
No other man would bring. Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you about one guy I found over in the Philippines. Very impressive guy. Very quiet, very impressive. Doesn't have a big student base. Kind of like he teaches in a park or a part of a military installation, kids and everything else. And it's ML Baboy Goyas.
Heard of him, Julius?
Yes. Yasa Sable. It's in Bacolod. All right. So if you're ever there, you want to look him up. Now he does blades, but his blades are different because he does like the blade is made half kind of like a saber and half like a bolo. So it's a little long. And what's impressive is his kids are just immaculate. They're just, and he's got two instructors under him. And both are good, and one takes care of technical and the other takes care of the forms or whatever. But this one guy, a few years ago, lost his arm. So you'd say, oh, well, that's over with. He ain't going to ever do it. He came back, and this is one fabulous guy. And if you look up the issue on that, you'll see that. And that's just one guy I just had to kind of recommend. There's, of course, a lot of guys that I can recommend that I've interviewed. It's like Dr. Jerome Barber has his own way. He's good. Ty Botting is good in his own way. He has a little default on a couple things, but he's a great guy, always submitted to the magazines. Bram Frank, of course, one of my running mates. I've known him for so long, it's pitiful.
Jim
Ron
Renee.
Kowalski makes them swords and all that.
Oh, Ron's here in Connecticut with me. Oh yeah.
Right there, Dean.
He's
by Dean.
Ron's a great guy. We're always talking, never met. In fact, I wanted to come up and meet him. He says, well, it's Sunday, the school's closed. And I said, who gives a hoot? I didn't say shit now. I said hoot. So I didn't care about the school. I just wanted to meet him.
Yeah,
but
you just wanted to meet him.
Family.
Yeah.
Family's number one. Even with my students, I say family's number one. I'm number two, but I can always be number one if you want me to be. Rennie Latosa. Rennie Latosa's a good guy. I'm going to tell you, he's different. He's straight arrow. He's there. He's contributed a lot. He's a great guy.
Definitely doesn't hold back.
He's got quite a following in Italy and everywhere else.
A guy out of Canada who doesn't get too much credit is Joel Hungar.
Oh my God! Steve, I just had him on. What he's doing with the kids, phenomenal.
Oh yeah, and he mixes things up and makes it
absolutely
real good.
Phenomenal. Yeah,
that's the number one order of business here. Besides getting more women involved, is the kids. Me and Dean got a soft spot for like children programs.
Yeah.
Yes. And then of course over in Europe you got Dieter Noodle.
Yeah.
Okay. Know of him.
Dav system.
Now he's got a big, strong following over there, but he's a businessman too. You got to realize he goes both ways.
Those DVDs that he makes, those modern Arnis stuff he makes is like.
Oh yeah.
Now a guy that I don't see get too much due, but I think pretty highly of him is Bill Lowry.
Bill Lowry.
That package you're going to get, Dean, has a couple of videos of that in there.
So
you might think about him.
Is he PTK?
He's always been a real good guy. And then I have to mention Tom Edison Pina.
Oh, Tom Payne.
Oh yeah, Tom. Yeah.
Oh, class act.
Great guy. Always did things.
Oh yeah.
You can go on and on and stuff, but like Dan's in there, of course. That's why I didn't mention him, because he's already there.
We just video conference 3 hours ago.
Okay, GM Dan said Bill Lowry's in the UK. All right, thank you, GM.
Yeah, in the UK.
Me and Tom Edison
the
Penn.
UK is part of Europe. I may be messed up in geography, but you never know.
It's okay.
Now, I don't know Shotokan, Shotoru, Taekwondo, Tanso Do, Shbak-Bak-Doo, and all them others. I know three. I know basically 3 arts: Trakma, Kuntaw, and Arnis Balite. That's it.
No, that's fine. Can you because I have a question regarding Steve on the Kuntaw. And basically, how'd you get into this system and all that? Because the question is, are there Chinese systems influenced in Carlito Lanata's system?
No.
Okay.
That was the big thing. My first book came out. A lot of people, well, I don't want to say a lot, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, bought my first book, Kuntaw, Filipino Art of Hand and Foot Fighting. And they were thinking of the AO instead of the AW. Okay. Kuntaw from Lanat. Okay, that's my latest one.
Yeah.
Well, my very first one.
It's a collector's item now, right?
This is
spectacular.
I got it. Okay, my very first one here.
Oh.
That was my very first one.
How many years ago, Steve?
That came out in 77.
77? Oh, wow.
Yes, and by Kiona Productions, Leo Fong.
Wow.
Leo Fong.
That came out. Leo Fong put that out in Kiona Productions, and it was kind of funny because Leo was shooting the movie Revenge of the Ninja or something like that in Manila, and his wife got a hold of me because I was trying to publish a book on TRACMA, which everybody laughed at because back in the early 70s, whoever heard of a 14th degree red belt master? That kind of got a lot of chuckles.
Not this guy.
So anyway, I went up to meet Leo in Manila because I was in Longapo at the time, and went into his room and everything, and we're talking. And I'm saying yes, and I'm laying the book out, this and that. He looked at it, took it, threw it on the floor. He says, "What else do you know?"
Ooh.
And I said, "Well, I know Kuntaw." He says, "Well, tell me about it." And I told him about it. And he says, "Okay, write something up on that, and I'll do that." And I wrote a 3-book series. That was the first one. The other 2 were never published. But that book was good. And I remember I just saw that book online by chance. It's selling for $100 right now.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The one from,
Wow.
70, the one from 77. Okay.
So that
Collector's
kind of
item.
shocked me because one guy says, "Oh, I bought your book for $25. And I said, "Oh, well, that's good. You know, if you would have written to Leo, you could have got it for 10. Okay, so that was nice. But
then,
you know,
Steve,
Kuntaw,
okay.
the ancient art of Filipino hand and foot fighting, as they say, is Kuntaw, which is actually 2 words. Kung Sagrado Hatao, which is sacred strike. Okay. A lot of words, you know, I've met a lot of people stateside and stuff that says, "Whoa, I study Kuntaw." And I'll say, "Oh, okay, cute." And they'll look at me and they'll go, "Cute." And I'll say, "Yeah, don't you know what that means?" He says, "Well, no." I said, "Well, then you're not part of Kuntaw." Cute in Kuntaw means brother. Kudai is sister. Made up words by Lanyada. He made up a lot of his own terminology, so it would be in there. Now let's talk about Kuntaw because it's changed over the years. I teach the original back in the late 60s, early 70s. Okay, 26 forms. I teach the original. No one else that I know of teaches the original Kuntaw anymore. Same. People that have gone to Saudi have forgotten some, so they change some of the things. Like a guy came from Saudi for 3 months when we were in San Diego to train with us. And I said, "Okay, what are you?" He says, "Well, I'm a 2nd degree black belt." "Oh, what's the form you know?" He says, "I know Maya." I said, "Well, that's pretty good for a brown belt." So we brought him up to 2nd degree black belt. What you'll find is in 1995, Bud Cothran, who's deceased he's deceased at this time. He wasn't back then. And myself were having lunch with Lanyada, and I was telling him how he could run his business being in the States to where he didn't have to work, to where everything would pay off for him. Okay. Of course, he didn't listen to us. Well, at that time, that's the first time he offered Bud and myself to be Grand Masters. We kind of choked. Him and Hall farted and belched and said, "Nah, we don't think so. You're the Grand Master. We're just, the peons that want to see you survive." So what it was is Bud was going to be the technical advisor for the forms and such, and I was going to be his administrator. Unfortunately, he never listened to us, so I kind of left because of certain things. But in '96, January, he changed a lot of the forms in Kuntaw. And I have a film of them, of the changes. I wrote them down because we sat in our school with him on one Saturday, went through every form. And he would say, this is what I'm doing. And we'd say, well, that's good, but that's stupid. And we'd explain why it's stupid. So sometimes he wouldn't do it, or he'd say, I really want to do it. Then one day we were in, Bud and our other partner, Garth, Constantine, were in teaching, and I was sitting in the office. And I said, why are you really changing the forms? Because what you got is covers about everything. I want to look better for tournaments. I said, oh, goody. So I went outside and said, guess what? I ain't teaching this crap. Now, today, you have some that do the new stuff, some that change it in their ways, some that changes the names of this and that. Even his son, who is in charge of Kuntaw ng Filipinas in the Philippines, has switched some of the names. Instead of Panalinkas being for going white to yellow and Balinkas being yellow to green, they have Balinkas being white to yellow and Panalinkas being yellow to green. Just switch the names, not the forms. Now, here's the devilish thing about Kuntaw that people don't really understand. I also put out another book by Kauna, which was called The Sayawan, The Deadly Techniques of Kuntaw. Okay, so a lady got with me and says, that looks like karate. And I said, yeah, in pictures, most things do look like karate.
Oh, okay. Oh, because of illustrations. Okay.
But I said, you have to see a fellow Kuntawist do it in person to see the flow, because it's not like karate, but it has the moves. If you don't understand, you take in the book that you have there, Dean, it'll tell you that what forms were taken from what karate, but they were converted into Kuntaw. Now, the reason behind all this fantastic stuff is as you know, if you're instructors and stuff, you have people coming to you. All right. Sikanon ran into this. A guy came up and he stayed there 6 months and he made green belt, came back to the States and says, I'm a master and I could teach Sikanon.
Oh,
and he was
how many times this
Yeah.
So what Lanyata would do is up to Maya and stuff. Yeah, they're karate forms, but they have that Filipino flavor.
Oh, the flow.
Movements, the flow and all this other stuff. And the philosophy is somewhat different than karate is, okay? That's what I tell my students. You're not learning karate, you're learning Kuntaw. Okay, so the reason he did this is because people would learn up to so far, let's say green belt or blue belt. Then they'd run off and say, oh, I'm a black belt in Kuntaw and I can teach you for $50 a month or some shit like this, okay? Hoot a month. And Lanyata used to send me around the Longapot to guys that did that. Like we had a guy in Gordon that made it up to green belt and said he was a black belt. And I went in to check his school out because Lanyata, and I said, yeah, this guy's no threat. But he did this because you don't really know Kuntaw. You know the principle, the philosophy, and the theory behind it, but you actually don't know it because until you make black belt, you really don't experience the full Kuntaw everything.
Interesting. So what happened after black belt, Steve?
What happens at the black belt? Yeah. Of course, you learn advanced forms, which show more techniques, which has more philosophy, more principles, and more theories behind it. And you learn how to connect them. Not so much as, you do a basic, I love forms because they're a basic outlet and they teach you a style. Okay, what that style is supposed to be about. Okay. But when you get up to black belt, besides doing Sai Sa, Kuntaw Sa, Silangan, and all these, which is a set pattern, of course, you also learn the breakdown of each thing so you can hollow mix it all up when need be. Okay, so it gives you a more greater outlook and a more comprehensive thought on what the style is all about and what is behind it and what is the full principle and the theories behind it. Now, if you want to talk karate, you kind of got to go to TRACMA. That's more karate, except for the first 10 forms, which are called TRACMA scientific forms, which I've never seen anywhere, and they're really kind of neat in a way. But they're kind of like the karate thing, okay? Then, when you go into brown belt and stuff, you're learning penons and stuff. When you go into black belt, you're learning shokan chew and chew me up and beat my butt and all this. But he has 5 forms in there called the TRACMA super forms, which are not around anywhere else. He made those up, and those are really good. So TRACMA is basically karate based.
Oh, okay.
Now, the thing about Ramos, when he first started, he was a bouncer in a bar in San Antonio. He was a student of Hegelian. That's why he never says anything bad and always good things about Hegelian. Hegelian says good things about him. TRACMA is a very dynamic art. You got to have the knees. You got to have the whole physical thing to really get into TRACMA. Okay, it's a very difficult art. If you're an old fiddle fart like myself, I kind of look and my mind goes, all right, man, I'm gonna do super form of TRACMA. Yeah. Then my body goes, oh, you're pretty stupid, aren't you?
Yeah.
Sure. You ain't doing that crap no more. And I don't do it. Okay. Arnis Balite was more of the hard knock. Now, you know, Kuntaw progressed. It was first called Kuntaw Kung Fu.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Then Maharlika Kuntaw. That's when I got into it. Okay. Then Kuntaw ng Filipinas, which was to go with everything Filipino when Marcos was in charge in 72. And then he went to the International Kuntaw Federation, which was basically in 79.
I've heard of that. Okay.
And now he's got the World Kuntaw, which takes them all. I started with Maharlika Kuntaw, but I mostly support Kuntaw ng Filipinas because I'm the only idiot that still does Maharlika Kuntaw.
Okay.
Or even mentions it or something. So I kind of associate, but I go the Kuntaw ng Filipinas. When the great Grand Master, as they call him, the great Grand Master, passes, I of course will support his son any way that I can, except for money. And he's in the Philippines and such.
And then we're seniors in North Carolina.
Yes, he's in North Carolina. He's pretty old. I talked to him about a month and a half, 2 months ago. He said he wanted me to come in as an administrator to the Kuntaw world, this, that. And I said, well, when you're ready, just give me a call and I'm standing by and we'll discuss and see what you actually want, which I never got because his mind is out left field. No, make that right field. No, sometimes center field.
He's up there, in age. Yeah.
Right. Now, the big difference in all 3 arts that I know is Arnis Balite, you called him Manny. That was it, Manny. It's when after he passed away and I got permission from the family because I'm endorsed by the family. At the time I did it in 95, he passed away. He had one son who was in San Diego, and unfortunately his wife passed away, so I haven't been able to get a hold of him because he's kind of like gone somewhere. You had 4 daughters, which know nothing because Manny didn't believe in teaching women. The only way they learned anything was they'd watch us in the front yard. They go back in the mango grove and say, I think they did this. I think they did that. 2 of the daughters have passed away and 2 are so old, I think they can get out of a chair still. But I report to the family. If I get something, I report it to the family. I'm the only instructor in Arnis Balite. The reason I say that is I made 2 gurus. One had an accident in Iraq, which broke his collarbone. And so every morning he gets up, he has to like shock his arm to get his arm working. And he forgot a lot of things. And I don't blame him on that because he studied Tang Sodo since he was 5 years old. And he's even forgotten that. The other one is in Sparks, which is 45 minutes from here or so. And he's kind of like in dream world with his family and blah, blah, blah. So he's lost. So I'm it. I'm the only one that's fully qualified. I'm Pananguro at Tamamagana, head instructor and inheritor. I gave the name to Manny as Pundador because he couldn't stand Grandmaster. That's like wiping your butt. He didn't like it. He would accept Pundador, which is more or less the head honcho.
Founder.
You know, and I'm not like some of these others, you know, they'll have the head of a system pass away. I know of one, I won't mention the name. He was a master when he passed away. Head of the system, because that's the highest rank he had.
No, I think that's
soon
going
as
to
he
be
died, he was a grandmaster.
Steve, I'm afraid that's going to happen.
And then a few years later, he's a great grandmaster.
Yeah. I'm afraid it's going to happen more and more, you know?
Yes.
Because you're the last one, right? You're the last one.
For Arnis?
Yeah.
Balite? Yeah, I'm it. When I go, it goes.
Oh, and you're teaching. Julie's had a question about teaching.
Yeah, yeah. I was asking if you were still teaching, but you kind of answered it already. Do you still teach?
Oh, yeah, I'm still teaching. What I do, I teach kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now, of course, I do women's self-awareness. I do senior self-awareness. You know, the seniors, you got to do it 10 in the morning, so it's not too early when they get out of bed, but it's still daylight so they can drive. Women's self-awareness, of course. I have a program with the Park and Rec here. I'm going on 14 years. Next year will be my 15th year.
Oh, fantastic.
15th. And I had an 8-year break in there because my mom passed. So I went and took care of my dad in Arizona. When he passed, I came back here to Fallon. But I have a Pee-wee. They used to call it Pee-wee Karate. And I always have to correct that. So now I got them to call it Pee-wee Martial Arts. And it's 5 to 8 years old. It's an 8-week class for $20. Once a week, unless I don't. And I teach a maximum of 20 in a class. So if I have like Monday's class has 7 and Thursday's class has like 8 or 10 or something, I combine them so they get twice a week for $20 for 8 weeks.
Okay.
Then for 9 to 15-year-olds, I do intermediate martial arts. Because if you use the word Kuntaw or anything, people just look at you, scratch their butt and go, oh yeah, okay, what's that? And they don't sign. And so that's from 9 to 15-year-olds. And that's an 8-week class, Monday and Thursday, 1 hour each time. And it's $30 for 8-week session.
Great deal.
Now, in the garage, of course, I know all these masters out there, or anybody that's teaching out there. Of course, you'd like a guy 18, 19, 22, 27, you know, a little age on themselves.
Right.
Well, Fallon, we don't have a little age on ourselves. It's like we got 7 elementary schools, you know. They had to finally divide the junior high and the high school because there were so many. And then a bunch of old folks and other people that just work. So in Fallon at this time, I teach, and we have a jiu-jitsu place that charges $60 a month that teaches. And they're in there. I teach in my garage because Arnis Balite's never had a school. He didn't believe in schools.
Okay.
Okay. We don't wear uniforms. We wear pants and stuff. One time when I was naive and young, and I said, Manny, I said, is there a belt I should wear or something, you know, as I'm progressing? And he says, do you need a belt? And I said, well, I don't really need one as long as I got the knowledge. And he says, well, let's go down to Visoria, the market. He says, I'll buy you a belt if you need something to hold your pants up. So we don't believe in belts. As I mentioned before, he didn't have the gear to spar with. If you're lucky, you buy a mouthpiece. If not, you put a piece of foam or toilet paper. For the crotch, you cut the toilet paper thing in half. Put it there and then wrap toilet paper.
Look at
That
these
was your crotch protector if you couldn't afford it.
Are you?
All right. And then he would, to be kind, he would wrap a rag around the end of the stick, because Arnis Balite uses both ends of the stick. But for sparring, he would just use one end. So he'd wrap a little rag, which really didn't do much. And then he would dip it in some paint or dye or something. So one would be blue and one would be red.
Okay.
Right? So then you would start, that's all you had. And you would start sparring. He would try not to hit the head too much. So you'd start sparring. So afterwards, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm aching and I'm, oh man, and I'm just hurting. He goes, what's wrong? I said, man, I hurt my legs, my arms, and then man, you hit me here good. He says, do you know what to do about that? And I figured he'd give me a medical cure, you know, like some lotion and stuff. And I said, oh yeah, man, tell me, what do I do? He said, you need more practice. If you had more practice and better techniques, you wouldn't get hit so much. I said, that's logical. I'll keep that in mind. Because he hit me.
Yeah, I can't really argue that.
Okay? It's like we didn't have mats or anything. You know, a lot of places have a mat you can fall on. Like my Pee-wee and intermediates, Park and Rec gives me a mat so I can do rolls and falls with him. We didn't have a mat with him. So we were complaining that the ground was a little hard in his front yard. He says, oh, it's too hard, huh? Said, yeah, it's a little bit hard. He says, oh, so he took out a stick and he made a big square. And he gave little hoes and shovels and we dug it out. He says, dig it up right where I have that. I said, okay. He says, now go back in my mango shed there. Pull out the canvas that he took from the base. And he said, spread that on the ground. I said, okay. So we spread it on the ground. So we start doing it, right? So he's sweeping and we're falling and everything. It was worse. And we go, on. He says, yeah, you guys are pretty stupid. And I go, what do you mean? He says, well, you got to remove the rocks as you're doing this. And we thought we were just digging it up to make it soft, you know? So we learned from that. But man, he was good people. Now, Kuntaw, back in the day, you know, they had Lindy Theater, which was where he kind of started. And then he went to 5th Street above a bar. Then, or not 5th, but Magsaysay above a bar. Then 5th Street, and then he had the temple up on the hill. And Lindy Theater was really a thing because, you know, in the theater, the floor slopes towards the front. Well, it's sloped towards the front without the seats. And that's what you trained on. So you didn't have a flat area.
Oh.
So the instructors would be up front to control everything. Students would be there and go through the exercise, all this. When you're doing the basics, you know, the instructors would go around and then you do a downward block. So let's say to the stomach. Well, they would punch. So if you didn't do your downward block, you got punched. And I remember coming out of Kuntaw quite a few times at 9 o'clock. And I'd be, you know, pretty sweaty, of course, and pretty beat up and stuff. And I'm cursing, blah, 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 blah. And I'd go drinking, of course, and playing with the girlies, of course.
Why not?
And saying, I will never do this again. This sucks. I don't need this abuse. I can get this in the Navy. The next night at 6 o'clock, I'm there. Oh my God, I'm ready to bow, you know? So you either love it or you don't.
Yeah,
That's
so
the way
true.
it is.
So true. So true. Hey,
You know, and it's like for Arnis Balite, now Park and Rec, I have to be nice.
yes.
Yes, Johnny, I'm sorry you fell. Did I grab you too hard? Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. So you have to be kind of nice because you're working for the city and the county. Arnis Balite, people have come up and say, I want to take lessons in Arnis Balite. And I'll say, well, you have to come to my house. And you have to, we talk about it. I'll tell you my rules. You can ask any questions and the whole layout. And then we can decide. And they said, decide. I said, yes, because if I don't like your attitude and I don't like you, I'll say, you know where I live, don't come back. If you don't like what I'm saying and don't want to come back, then I'll say, well, you know where I live, so don't come back. It's very simple. It's not like I'm out to make $1 million. I charge $20
not by the prices you charge. Oh God, no.
Yeah, Tuesdays and Fridays, $20 a month, whether you come once or all 8 times. Now they're only beginners.
Right.
I give them
this is gold.
I give them 6 months to learn the basics. Now, if I got a kid that's got a good spirit and a good heart, and his attitude's there, but he's a little stupid in learning the basics, I might give him another month or something. Okay? But I give them 6 months. If they don't know the basics in 6 months, then I wave aloha. Goodbye. Go away.
Now, Steve, how many times, seriously, how many times do you think you had to tell them, hey, look, I'm sorry, but you didn't pass the basics. You got to go.
There's been quite a few. I had one guy and I said, I know you got a good heart. I kept him for 10 months. I said, I know you got a good heart. I know you love this art. You think it's really nice. And I know you try so hard. However, you need to go to Shotokan or something because you're so stiff and rigid that you would fit in and probably make black belt in a month. It's not, you have to understand in 6 months, let's say I just had one of my guys, he made student. Okay. So I charge him the big price of $40 for making student because I give him a pair of sticks and I gave him a hat that says Arnis Balite, see? But then he never pays for a lesson again. As long as he's a student, he'll never pay again. So it isn't like I'm trying to soak him.
No.
I knew this guy in San Diego who taught karate. And yeah, he had a pretty good following. He had a big name and all this other stuff in San Diego. But we always noticed he gave tests when he wanted to go to Las Vegas so he would have the money. And he'd just give a lot of tests so he'd get a lot of that money. Because basically what they paid him for the month was paying for the rent and stuff. Arnis Balite, the way I think, either you got the heart or you don't have the heart. I'm not into it for the money. I'm into it for the knowledge, to share, and stuff like this. Okay? Now, I understand people that have to make the money to pay the bills in the gym.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because we had a couple schools in San Diego. We were always in the red. Luckily, all 3 of us were in the Navy. So we always had a little extra. But we were always in the red. We were never in the black. We were charging like $40 a month. Come 6 days a week. Okay? 5 days a week. So I understand that part. I understand people that got to make the money to make the living. I've known 2 people personally up close and all this other bit to where I could smell their aftershave and everything that made a living by teaching in their school. They didn't do seminars. They did demos, but they didn't charge money. But they actually were able. One guy had 2 kids and a wife, and he made just enough money to always have that school open and everything. So I always admire those. But I know a lot of people don't have the time or the gumption to do that. Myself I don't really care about the money, but I've taught for free before, and they come like 3 times, then they miss once, they come twice, then they miss 3 times, and I go, it's like in Kuntaw, our school. When we first opened, 2 weeks you could come for free. We teach you for free. After that, we expect you to sign up. Well, after that, they'd say, got to give you money? I'm going home.
I know.
So I don't like that,
No, you got to check them.
Yeah.
Check them.
That is so funny, though. If the 6 months, man, if they don't cut it, aloha.
Well, like I said, if they have a good heart, if they have the attitude and a good heart, and they're really, really trying, I give a few extra months. But if you don't get something in 6 months, like Arnis Balite, which is, you're just learning, pitong hamba, 7 strikes, 5 parasuk, 5 thrust, unday salag, swing block, kalasag salag, shield block. And there's only like 4 shield blocks on the side, 3 swing blocks on the side. And it's not hard. And I make little patterns for them so they can, move down the floor to do them, And I make them do it over and over and over. I got a kid now, he does it over and over. I told him, I said, you got till June 30th. Then you're going away. One other thing that I really make out is because of kids, and a big thing I am on kids. If they get D's and F's, they can't come.
Oh, good for you. Oh,
good for you. You.
So, like, they have to show me their report card every time they come out. Now they got these screwy report cards. Well, I got a number 5. Well, I got a 3.5. I go, shit, I don't know what that means. So I have to call the school up and say, what is a 3.5? Or something like this. But I had one kid who got an F, and I said, when you make a B, you can come back. He made a B, and he came back.
Oh, fantastic.
So grades are it, because like in Kuntaw, we had one gentleman, really good. He was Filipino, and he was going to be a lawyer. He says, well, I'm going to quit college, and I'm going to come and learn with you guys because I want to have my own school and teach. And then we said, okay, you can quit. You can have your own school, but don't come to us because we're not going to show you nothing no more. Because education is very, very important. He is now an international lawyer, and he teaches Kuntaw.
Oh, hey. Oh, Steve, by the way, Tom Pena's here.
Yeah.
Who?
Tom
Speaking
Pena.
of the devil, Tom Pena.
Tom, what's up?
Yeah.
Dude, I mentioned you. You're good.
Good,
You
yeah.
know,
Big.
When this COVID hoop-de-doo started, I was calling everybody that I knew. I called Tom. I would call the Philippines, everybody in the Philippines that I had a number. Australia, David Fogey and stuff like that. Call, hey, how you doing? What's up? Hey, you safe? You do this, that, then. And we'd, cry on each other's shoulder on how screwed up the world is and stuff like this and this and what's the plan for the future. But I never got calls back, so I don't even give a shit anymore.
Oh.
I called, talked to Max Fallon. He's in the Philippines. David Fogey and I talk quite a bit. And the reason I bring up David, because one thing I want to bring up, one of my idols. Oh, quick story before I get to that. Bring back. When I was putting out the digest, I had a guy call me and says, you know what? Because, I always put stories about people that pass away. A person that passes away, to me, is a legend because he left something.
Right.
If you haven't passed away, you're not a legend to me because you haven't fully fulfilled your life to become a legend, to show. So I had this guy call and he says, you know what you ought to do for the digest? And I said, no, what should you do? What should I do? And he said, you ought to put out a legends book. And I said, you think so? And he says, yeah, I'd buy one. So I asked a couple people around LA and Vegas that were FMAs with, what do you think? Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. We would buy one. All right. So I put one out and I put 2 of them out. None of them ever bought one. But the guy calls me again. He says, man, your Legends book was good. I've seen it. I said, you didn't buy it, but you've seen it. Okay. And he says, yeah. He says, but there's one thing wrong with it. I said, what's that? And he says, I'm not in it. I said, did you want to be in that book? He said, yes, I'd like to be in that book. I said, go kill yourself. Die. I said, if you notice, everybody that's in the Legends book is dead. You got to die first. You're not done becoming a legend yet. You still have more things to do in life. And I put out all these books. I put out the 5 years that I did the digest, the first 5, and I put it in a set. I only published 20 of them because I didn't trust it. Sold 18. That was good. $50. $10 for each book, so $50. I put out 2 legend books. I put out the women's books. I put out man, woman, and school of the year. None of them sold. I ended up giving them all away.
Wow.
Because no one would sell. So when I go to PI, the way I got a lot of interviews, now I always thank the people that sent me articles like Tom, Medina, Tom, Dan, and such. That's great. But in the Philippines, when I went there, of course, I don't have, I'm paying to go to the Philippines. I'm paying for the hotel. I'm paying to do whatever I'm doing there. And so I can't really afford to pay people for an interview. So I get them to interview. I say, oh, are you thirsty or something? Would you like a drink? No. Okay, or we would eat breakfast or dinner or lunch. Then we'd go up on the roof because the roof of where I stayed was flat and really nice up there with lawn chairs. And I'd do the interview and such. And then afterwards, I'd say, well, are you, do you need a drink? Would you like to eat again? That was my payment. That, and I put it in. Okay. So that's the way I paid. Only one time in the Philippines, I was requested to pay a guy. He was in an art. He was a master, I guess. And I went to his house. He gave me coffee. He didn't have anybody there. And so I interviewed him and I took 5 pictures of him doing stances and such. And afterwards, he's got his hand out there and I go, okay, well, and he says, well, usually if you interview a master or a grand master, you give them money. And I said, well, usually I don't because I feed them and stuff like this. But since you gave me a cup of coffee, here's 20 pesos. And that's all I can afford because I have to pay for my jeepney and trike back to the hotel. So he took it and he goes, well, you want me to walk you down the street? We have a tough neighborhood. I said, well, I lived in Tondo for 2 years. What do you think? And I said, yeah, right. So I got out and I went. So he would bother me for like 2 or 3 months. Is my article ready? Is my article coming out? I said, no, I'm still working on it. Well, it got to the point I kind of got fed up with this. And I said, look, Doo-Doo, I gave you money for this article. So that means I can put it out anytime.
Now it's on your timeline. Okay.
My timeline. And I can say basically, as long as it's not derogatory or something bad about you, I can write it up the way I want as long as I use your facts and stuff. All right. So about 3 years later, he died and I published
it. He passes and you publish.
After he died.
Julie's had a question. Steve, Julie's had a question, and his question is the incentive for the Digest and Informative.
Yeah, it's kind of both our questions. It's both our questions. Me and Dean is like, what was your impetus? What was your incentive to start the FMA Digest, FMA Authoritative, and all that?
Okay. I was, Dean's not there, man. He might miss this.
Oh, yeah.
I can still hear. I'm grabbing something.
My thing was, okay, I got into the FMA, as you know, and this and that. And I came to the States, went back to the Philippines, came to the States, blah, 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 blah. And so I started to get into these digests that were, on the internet and stuff. So the Screama Digest and stuff, which was run by, the name slips me right now, and I'm sorry it does. But I got into that, and I said, and I used to write for magazines. I've written for Inside Kung Fu, Masters, Filipino Martial Arts Magazine. You can go to the website and you can see all the ones I've written for. And you can get a copy of the issue of what I wrote. So anyway, I said, I would like to put out something in writing with interviews and such as this. So that's when I came up with the FMA Digest. Now, this guy had the FMA Screama blog thing. And so I called him, Terry, oh man, now I can't even remember his last name. Somebody will remember and bring it up. But I asked him, I said, what do you think of this? He says, yeah, that's good. So I said, okay. So I started putting it down. I got a couple quotes and I found a couple things, put it out, and I felt pretty good. I said, yeah, this is cool. So what it eventually came about was I put out the digest to proclamate the Filipino martial arts and the Filipino culture. Now, of course, I get all masters. I get some grandmaster. I had a grandmaster from Hawaii that came into LA. And I was talking to him and saying, I'd like to interview you and put you in this and that. And goes, I don't know. I'm grandmaster. No. And I'd say, okay. I said, you got to think of it this way. I write an article about you. Just a basic article. Let them know who you are. It's like a tidbit before the meal. A tidbit. So people come there. Now, they may think, oh, this is full of crap. So they'll come and you prove that it's not full of crap. Or after they visit you, they might think you're full of crap. But anyway, it's a tidbit so that people will come to visit you. And if they like it, they'll say, man, can I be a student? Now it's up to you. Do you want to feed them the meal of your art? Or do you want to tell them to go away? The tidbit was good enough. All right. Also, another big thing is I was very lucky in the early 70s and the 70s to be writing for a lot of magazines. Okay. Like I said, Martial Arts Masters and all these others. But I see a lot of other people could never get their articles in there. So the digest and such was for that purpose for new writers so they could get some kind of a credit.
An opportunity
to write articles and stuff, and I could get them in there, and so it would give them the opportunity. If they wrote they could polish off their skill of writing about FMA or the culture. They could sit there and at some magazine, well, who'd you write for? Well, I wrote for this and this. Oh, they got 5,000 subscribers. They did this, this, and this, and it's in this issue, and they could see it. So it was for the writers and stuff. It was for the grandmasters, masters, instructors, and students. Let people know about them. The arts, like I told you about the boy who no one ever hears about. Well, now you can read about him. If you happen to be in Bacolod, you could go and visit him. Now, my differences from the FMA Digest, the FMA Informative, and the FMA Notebook. The FMA Digest went 7 years, 5,000 subscribers, 152 issues. That's everything. Quarterly issues, special editions, mini issues, Man of the Year, and stuff like this. it had a lot of culture in it. I had 3 or 4 women's to where, hey, these are the women teaching. Check them out. I had 3 or 4 issues on just kids. I had dancing issues, Sayawan issues about dancing companies and what this means. I had how to cure yourself and this and that. But overall, as far as the masters and the grandmasters, it's like this. I actually call that my Huggy Face and Kissy Poo magazine. Because if you read the magazines, it'll say, okay, it's this is the art. This is the Grandmaster of the art. Then it's, oh, well, I love Grandmaster so much because he came to my place. Oh, Grandmaster sucked because of that's not. Oh, Grandmaster, I could just hug and kissy face him all the time, you know? It was huggy face, kissy boo. After you wrote what the art was about the Grandmaster, whoever got it together, then it was like, oh, he's so great. He's so fantastic. I just got to have sex with him. You know, some kind of shit like this. You know? So that was my huggy face and kissy boo. No, that's good to hear people talk good about you, right? Of course, it's like, look up the Anai issue. There's a guy in there, and I'd have to look it up, but so we don't. Anai issue, the guy, a picture of him, and he has Anai's style tattooed across his back. He wrote an article of why he liked Anai and stuff. Brought tears to my eyes. One of my favorite articles I've ever seen. It was really great. You get into the informative, I said, well, I don't want huggy face and kissy poo. I want facts. So to me, the informative was like, let's say you were going to write, you have a style. I'd say, okay, first I'd like you to write, let's get right up. Now, the issues, the informative only did 262 issues. No special editions, no special issues, no mini issues. 262 issues. Had 7,000 subscribers. Had a newspaper come out once a month for 5 years. So 12 times 5. That's how many newspapers you had. I would try to put facts in there. If you were a master or grandmaster like Martin Torres, who teaches in Phoenix, let's put out an article. Let's put out an issue at minimum 10 pages on your basics. What your art's about, your basics. Okay, let's wait 2 weeks or a month. Now let's put out an issue about your basics, putting them into the works. Show me how they work. Okay, wait 2 weeks, a month like this. Now let's put it out. Let's go to the street and see if they work. So let's put it out, an issue. Now he had people fighting in rings and stuff. So let's go to the ring and show it works in the ring. Let's go to the street and show that it works in the street. Your techniques, your philosophies and stuff. So I always tried to make 3 issues out of something like that. All right. Of course, I tried to bring in the culture, the medical side of it, the thoughts of it, but it would be about, the informative was about one thing and one thing only. If I'm writing about modern artists, about, let's say, Ernesto Perez's and modern artists, that's the only thing the issue would be about. Right. It wouldn't be, oh, I love him. He was still such a savage guy. Okay. Or it wouldn't be, you know, this or that. It'd be just about him, what he taught, and why, and stuff like this. So it wouldn't branch off. All right. So then I started the FMA notebook. Now, first I sent out a sample to people that I know that write, and I said, give me your thoughts on this. Most of them didn't give me your thoughts, so I said, well, up your yanger, I'm doing it anyway. And so the first one I put out was like a notebook. You would have a spiral notebook, and somebody just wrote. You would write about this event's going on, while it's going on, or while this guy's teaching, or the thoughts. It's just a notebook. Then I said, well, people might not be able to read this scrolling and script, so I put it in Times Roman so they could read it. So you had 2 different Same thing in each copy, but it was one was like a notebook, the notebook was like about a single thing, a single event, or a single training. Like if I went and I watched you train, I'd write what I thought about your training and stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He did this and that. You know, like you'd have a notebook, you take notes.
Yeah,
And then
okay,
I'd put a little bit about you and about your art. Well, that lasted a year. Each magazine that I put out got closed because I had nothing else to put out.
That's, and the thing is, I remember when you were going through this with the informative, because I remember like, making an announcement, and I believe I made it in the old group I had. The old group I had, well, here's one thing, Blade Technologies. So there. And I remember making the announcement like, hey, he's going to shut this down. If nobody starts contributing, it's going to close down. And sure enough, nobody, but I personally want to thank you for like what you did. And people that are watching, this would be, so Steve, this would be the news thing you mentioned, right? That came out once a month, correct?
Right.
Okay, so this would be the news, and then informative. If you actually contributed to a thing, then you got, like, for instance, I did 3 for you. One on Ron Kozakowski, and the one I was on the kids, if you recall, and
right,
and all that, and but and then obviously Tom was saying he to the digest, but what a shame that people just couldn't continue for your labor. I love it. That just always blew my mind that people couldn't submit stuff.
See, the digest, I would put out upcoming events, past events if they sent it to me, advertise this and that. The informative, an issue, if you wrote books, I'd put that in for advertisement at the end so they can learn more about you. The idea, and people go, well, why do you want 3 issues? Well, if they miss the first one, they'll catch the second or third. If they don't like the first one, maybe the second or third one will change their minds. Okay. It was everything I've done is to get people to go and see these people and say, I read about you here. Can you tell me more? I'm kind of interested. That was the idea. It wasn't like, oh, well, I know Ernest Perezzo and I know this guy and I know this guy. That's nice. You know them. I want people to go to them because, like I said, a lot of people make their living by doing this. Your arts expand by you getting students and them passing it to other people. They make their black belts and then it gets passed. One guy I just have to mention. Now David Fogey, right?
Correct. Yeah.
His mentor is like, I would say, his dad, because Roland Dantes even claimed that David was kind of like was a son to him. Roland is one guy. Now, I was with him the night before he passed away. We were at Peachy Segon's house.
Wow.
She had a bunch of masters and grandmasters there. They were giving me an award for something or other, and this and that. Roland came. We sat and talked a long time. Every time I was in Manila, Roland would come visit. Whether it was to talk to him for an interview, he would just to come visit. Very supportive, great man. Tears in my eyes. He left the place about 6 at night. In fact, I didn't even get to say goodbye because I was in Peachy's son's room giving an interview. Roland kind of liked my wife anyway. As a good friend. No, as a good friend. No, don't get it. But he says, tell Steve bye, but I wanted to say goodbye to you, And he left. Well, I think it was Peachy that about 2 in the morning, that next morning, called me and told me Roland had passed away. And so that was very sad. The next morning, I went down to the funeral home, waited till he was laid out and stuff. But the day of his funeral, I was unable to attend because, in actuality, Roland was to teach for Arnis Professionals, a college course that they have in Manila. He was supposed to teach that day. Of course, passing he couldn't. So I was asked to take his place, which was an honor, a real honor. So I did that, but I missed his funeral. But I wanted to say to anybody and everybody who listens, if Roland would have lived, now everybody hears about the Arnis bill and this and that. There's 3 guys, 3 senators that actually did the Arnis bill. One time I went to go learn more about the Arnis bill in there, and I looked under my bed, opened my closet door, flushed the toilet, opened the shower curtain, and you couldn't find crap about it. Because most of the time when it was used, it was, well, I'm a Filipino, so, we have the Arnis bill, trying to promote that way. If Roland would have been living, that would have been the man that made the Arnis bill man. He could have taken any organization. A lot of people don't know that the SEA Games, when Arnis Philippines was in the SEA Games in the 70s because of Roland Dantes. And if you look at my FMA Digest issue and look up for the SEA Games and stuff in there, you'll see where he was involved in that. And I even brought it up in an informative issue. I just always want to let people know what a great man he was, even though, Mr. Philippines and with Schwarzenegger and all this other stuff. Personally, he was a great man. Anybody could talk to him. Fantastic. And the only thing we have left is David is carrying on his thoughts and what he used to teach.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get Dave on here.
That was my plug for Roland Dantes. Thank you very much for that. All right.
That's too bad. I'm hoping
what else?
Dave will come on, talk about him, So we went through that, and then now, after you got done with the notebook, now you've created your latest creation now is kind of a library of sorts, right?
What do you mean library?
I mean, now you put everything together, correct, on the website now. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. If you go to Maharlika Enterprises with a ZES,
okay.
You know how to spell Maharlika, right? Your buddy there can tell you.
Yeah.
Maharlika-enterprises.net. You'll have, that has kind of like in everything, it's got, when you first open it, I used to do websites for many, many years. I only have 4 or 5 left that I'm doing because I'm kind of like sliding out of the business. But you can scroll down and see all the websites. I did IMFP. I've done Pereza websites. I've just single terrace websites, everything. And then you can sit there and you can see all the magazine articles that I've ever written for actual magazines that were published. And you can download the PDF to see what the article was. Imperato, I wrote his will before. That was in a magazine. I did a lot of FMAs for different magazines. Then you can get everything in the FMA Digest.
Is there? Okay.
Except my personal personal one, because who cares about me? You can get everything in the FMA Informative, newspaper, everything that was ever published. You can get everything in the FMA Notebook. And then you can learn about Kuntaw, Arnis Balite, and Trap.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to, on the comment section when we end, I'm definitely going to list that website for you, just so people know where to go and all that. I do have a question from Nar, and his question is, any plans where you would start any of those back up again?
Okay. The FMA Digest, the domain name sells for about $1,000 right now. So apparently I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
The FMA Informative sells for $2,000.
Won't be doing that.
And the notebook, I haven't really checked on it because I only had it a year and no one cared. I would like to have another. However, with this patty cake, pull your pants down government we got, throughout the world, not just ours, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And the most I got out of articles and stuff was going to see people.
No, I know.
Now I could come in the States. I never flew in the States. If I visited anybody, Frisco, where you're at, right? You're in San Francisco, right?
No, sir. I'm in Orange County.
Orange County.
Yeah.
Even Orange County. I always drove there. I'm sorry. I thought you were in Frisco. I'm sorry.
No, it's just my name, sir.
Okay.
It's just my name.
Huh?
It's just my name.
Oh, yeah. His last name.
My last name is Francisco, like San Francisco.
Yeah. Oh, let me get my head out my ass backwards for a minute. But anywhere I teach in the States, I always drove. When I had seminars, I would try to make the seminars. Like one time I went to North Carolina, went up to New York. I was going to New Hampshire, but Ron Kukowski, it was a Sunday and his school wasn't open, but I don't blame him. I like him anyway. Then I went down to New York and then Buffalo, New York. And then I went over to Michigan. I tried to make a route. As I'm doing that, I would interview people. If I went to the Philippines, of course, I flew into Manila. Then I'd maybe go to Davao, then Bacolod, then Cebu.
Wow.
And then I would fly back into Manila, stay for a day, and I'd go down to Pampanga, Angeles City, and then I'd come back to Manila to hit the rest of them in Manila.
Man, you blow a lot of money just doing that.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't miss it because I had such a good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed my company, and I was doing something that I wanted to do. Money means nothing if you're doing something you want to do.
Right.
Okay. Now, of course, I got the zit balls. You know, on Cebu, the hotels were great because I'd always advertise the hotels. If you go to the Informative, it'd say my trip to the Philippines, and every hotel I stayed in, I'd advertise. One, I'm in there, and I told Dean this one. The guy recommended this guy to come see me. So I said, okay, have him come. So he came, and the power was mostly off. So he came, and we're sitting in the lounge. No one's around because everybody's out somewhere, sweating our butts off because there's no fans or nothing. And he says, can we go outside? And yes, okay. I'll get to this part, and then we'll go to the other. So then I said, well, you didn't bring, I'd always tell somebody, bring somebody. So when I take pictures, you can show me something. I said, well, you didn't bring anybody. This guy was supposed to be a knife guy. I said, did you bring a knife? He said, no. Cebu hotel that I was in was very, 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 very good. And the kitchen gave me a butter knife. And I asked to use one of the room boys that worked there. Said, I promised you wouldn't get hurt. So we were out in the garden there. And I said, okay, now show me what you're going to do, and then we'll break it down for pictures. So he showed me what he was going to do. Automatically, well, I've already had the interview with him, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But due to the interview, I go, you got to be shitting me. Are you for real? He says, oh, yeah. I said, okay, wait a minute. Let's do this again. So I took the boy out the side. Okay, here's your butter knife. Said, now you do it to me. So he did it to me, took the knife from him, and I stabbed him. And I said, it didn't work. I didn't actually stab him. Okay. But I said, I said, you see, your shit sucks. You need to practice more and get some routine that's worth a shit. Worth a hoot. I'm sorry. And the reason that I was so pissed is because I'd say, well, what's the philosophy of your style? Because that was always one question. Well, God, and what was what's the principles behind the techniques? Well, God, So after we got done, I said, well, overall, you know, you really haven't clarified. Give me your philosophy and your principles and stuff. Well, God, and I said, I was like, God guides the hand for the principle. God is our philosophy. Well, God ain't coming down and going to kick the guy's butt for you or protect you. So you ain't working. So that was the worst interview I ever had. The funniest interview, and I love the guy, Jerry Evangelista. You know him, right?
Jerry? No,
You've heard the name. Jerry Evangelista?
No.
Okay, he used to be in Terrace for a while. He started his own thing. Look in the FMA Informative. I got like 4 issues on him.
Jerry Evangelista.
Great guy, great nice guy, and all this. Empty hands, he sucks. But nice and bolos and all this. In fact, Dean, I'll send you numbers to where you can look him up real quick.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Fantastic guy. I don't know from the first, long hair, curly, all this other stuff. Nicest guy he ever went. Believed in rocks and stuff for this. But anyway, as I told you, and I always tell somebody, bring 1 or 2 people with you. So when we demonstrate, we can take pictures. So Jerry would come and he'd call and I'd come down from the room. And he says, I'm here, but I'm just waiting for my guys to come. Okay. 19 guys show up.
Oh, wait. And you got to.
So I'm going, all right, Jerry.
So
we go up there and we go through it. And of course, when you take pictures, he changes them out and all this. And then, of course, he brings his banner and all his weapons so we can lay them out and get a big picture. So then afterwards, being my usual self, let's go eat. So we go down to the restaurant. Everybody had eat. So the next time, I said, okay, Jerry, we're going to do this again. Don't bring 19 guys. Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. He shows up. There's 11 guys. Okay. He was that way, but I didn't mind because Jerry, unfortunately, he's deceased, but Jerry was a fantastic person.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading up on him. Wow. Oh, you know what?
Yeah, because
David Fogey's here, Steve. He just chimed in.
So what?
David Fogey.
He's here.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to respond to like the private messages because I'm asking people if they have any questions for you and they just want to just shut the hell up and listen. Yeah, you have so many funny stories and wisdom.
Let me tell you about David real quick. Let me throw a thing on you.
Sure.
I was there. I was single. I had some things set up. David was going to do a magazine in Hong Kong. He was going to use an article from Matosi. He got a hold of Matosi. Matosi told me to send what I had on him because I used to do everything Matosi. For some reason, Matosi always wanted me to write his articles. I got him in French. That'll be funny. I got a Matosi article in French and I'll read it. And the guy says, you read French? I said, no, I wrote it so I know what it says in English. But anyway, David and I got to. He arranged. Now they were having their festival, FMA festival in Germany. Roland was there. David, him, and when Roland got back, David introduced me to him. He introduced me to Victor Sanchez. He introduced me to a lot of the modern artists. He was inspirational in really kind of getting the digest going for articles because he introduced me to a lot of people that I could interview, and I got Nilo, the Balasong guy, and stuff there. So I have to point that David did a lot. And a lot of people, like they said, when Roland went, it was like poof. No, it didn't go poof. David's got the load. Okay? But people need to go to David to know anything.
Yeah. I mean, we're hoping one day he comes on. He knows the offer's open door for him anytime he wants to come on. So, but yeah, I mean, that would be wonderful him to speak on Master Roland,
I just want to say something because I have such a deep appreciation of you from my heart. Speaking as a Filipino kid, I've been practicing Filipino martial arts since I was 7, you are the first person that I know of to really bring the community together with that digest. At least that's something that almost all of us agreed with. It was just spectacular. Like, finally, we have this publication. It's kind of like Inside Kung Fu or Black Belt Magazine, but for FMA.
Well,
we didn't
here's
have
the
that.
thing is,
We didn't have that before you.
you know, Elliot Shearer put out the Filipino Martial Arts Magazine. I did his website. And I talked to Elliot all the time. Of course, he got all his wife passed. He went to his first wife. He's kind of lost in Florida somewhere. If he's still living, I haven't heard from him for years. He was a good guy. He really tried to do a lot. I could not afford to put out a magazine. So my idea was to make something you could print. So that's the digest, single. Alex France used to print out every issue and then put it in a plastic thing with the thing going down there so it'd be in a binder. Yeah, so it'd be like a magazine. Some people did that. Some people were nice enough. Now, my rules were if I did a special issue or special edition about you, that is yours. You can print it, you can give it, you can sell it. I don't care what you do with it. That is your issue, even though I'm putting it out. Some people did it. Some people were nice enough that when I did it, they made copies and they'd send me a copy. So I have some copies. However, as we go, I quit the digest for a few months and then I started it again for its last year. And then people quit putting it in there again because people said, oh, you shouldn't quit. You ought to do this. And so I started it and then it fizzled after a year. But anyway, what I found was people were printing the issues, putting them together and selling them.
Yeah,
not
they were
the
doing
ones that gave me the info, not just John Schmuckatella over there.
John Smuckatelli.
John Smuckatella.
Yeah. Smuckatelli.
And that pissed me off because I did not make a penny.
Yeah.
The only thing I got out of the FMA Digest or the Informative or anything is people like Dan Medina or Beanie or something would send me a copy of the magazine that they printed out for their friends or whatever they were going to do. Of course, I got appreciations like that. Got a lot of seminars because of the digest, Didn't have the digest, or I wouldn't have the seminars. I got to suck butt. Anyway, so that's what pissed me off. So on the Informative, the newspaper was the newspaper, like a regular newspaper. And the issues were 10 pages or more, but you can't print them out because they're double paged. And if you can work a printer good enough to make this page go big and this page disappear, you can print it. Most people don't know how to do a printer like that. So what I would do is, let's say I wrote an article or we did an issue on you. After I put the issue out, I would send you a single page issue so you could print it out and then sell it, give it away, do whatever you wanted to do with it.
Which is right. Which is what you did with me. Which is what you sent me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just, the notebook was hard. No one gave. 95% of the notebook was written by me, and it was my opinion. And when I got to the 51st or 52nd issue, I go, people got to be tired of my opinion. I'm starting to sound like CNN or some shit.
Steve, I got a question. Steve, I got a question from David. Steve, do you remember meeting with Master Edgar? And
it's Telebanco. Edgar Telebanco.
He wants to know if you remember meeting with Master Edgar.
Yeah, David's the one that introduced me. And I don't think I ever wrote anything on him. But yes, he was one that had his own agenda. There's quite a few of them that have their own agenda. It's like, okay, it's nice we have you as a seminar so that you'll interview us. Or yes, I've had people that I'd interview maybe once, 2, 3, and they go, well, I can't think of anything else, so I'm no longer their friend.
Oh, jeez. You served your.
I had a guy
in
modern Arnis who a lot of people said a lot of about, and I was always backing him up. I said, man, you don't understand this guy. You don't, no. And I was doing this guy's website, and anytime I could, I'd write an article on him or whatever I could. And then one day it was just like, pull down your pants because you ain't getting nothing no more. Or pull up your pants because you ain't getting nothing no more. And I ain't heard from the guy since. Now, I don't go on Facebook because, I don't have an account on Facebook.
No, using Messenger. Just Messenger, right?
All I do is use Messenger to keep in contact with people that I feel that are my friends. Other than, oh, he'll support me by writing something. But David's right. That one person, plus there's quite a few others that you learn along the way, or it, okay, this is a one-time shot. This guy just wants something. And
so what what about future plans? So what are the future plans for Steve, Dowd, or any? What do you think? What you got? What's the future hold for you?
Well, before I started all this, the magazines, I was in Pahrump the Dump. You know where Pahrump the Dump is? In Nevada, 45 minutes southwest of Las Vegas, Pahrump. I call it Pahrump the Dump. They didn't even have electricity till 1960. They had a mom and pop store until the 70s. That was the grocery store, all right? In Pahrump the Dump, all I did was Arnis and Kuntaw, Arnis Balite and Kuntaw. Talked to a couple guys once in a while. That was it. Be on the internet, looking up this and that and the other stuff. I was a pretty happy guy. No one screwed with me. Since I got rid of all this, I'm doing my Pee-wees, Kuntaw Pee-wees, Kuntaw Intermediate, Women's Self-Awareness, Senior Self-Awareness, Arnis Balite. Now in the garage, when I do Arnis Balite in the garage, I only have 6 students. I don't allow anymore. I got a 3-car garage, so I got 6 students. And with them swinging stuff around, I figured 6 is good. I'm a pretty happy guy. I mean, I would love to get something going again, but I really don't know where to go with it. Because a lot of these new,
maybe we can help, huh?
Well, here you got something.
Let's do that, Dean. Let's do that.
When I quit the digest, if you read the last digest, not the second to last of the movie theater, but the very last one, you'll see that I came to a realization that I was in competition with you guys, but you weren't there yet.
No.
YouTube, other talk things.
YouTube, yeah.
So in America, Europe, and a lot of other places that have TVs and computers, they would rather sit here and watch some guy go, whoa, 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 than to sit there and open a book and read. It's like when they brought out the little readers that you get the free things and you can sit there and read it electronically. I still buy the book and read the book.
Yeah.
I'm an old fart. That's what I do. So I felt despondent when I quit the digest because, well, look what I'm going against. I can't compete against YouTube and this and that. It's like the mentality. I was going to do a story on Leo Gahe. And
Who? No.
Gahe, yeah. Hoo-hoo. Or I'd be doing it on this or that. And I'd say, you know, hey, man, I'd like to do this on this. I'd get his representative. And they would go, so I would hear nothing. So then I would get a thing. Oh, did you see Black Belt? Did you see Inside Kung Fu? We had an article in there and this and that. I said, well, you know, that's really great. I said, why don't you send me a copy? We'll change a couple things. And I'll put it in, you know, we'll wait 6 months because usually a magazine for 6 months doesn't want any of their articles printed. After that, they don't care. Most of them. I said, we'll wait, and then I'll put them in the FMA Digest, or I'll put them in the FMA Informative.
Ah, okay.
Okay? And they'd say, well, but I'm in Black Belt. I'm in Inside Kung Fu. Karate Illustrated. I did an article in them. And I said, well, you know what? In 4 months, who gives a shit?
Right.
Because they'll be gone, they're sold out, and they will never reprint it again. Never. If you would have come with me, they're on the internet, and you can download them any goddamn time you want, as long as I'm still breathing. And I'm still breathing.
I mean, here's the thing, man. You've done so well. You've done so many good things for FMA.
Yeah.
It really hasn't like given you that kind of love back. And so my last 2 questions for you that I'm going to ask you is like, let's not talk in a negative. Like, tell us like what positive things Filipino martial arts has given for you, and how do you want to be remembered?
FMA made me healthy. Didn't make me wealthy. It made me wise. FMA, if you would indulge yourself in it, not just Arnis, not just Eskrima, not just Kali, but the culture of the Philippines. You take the stuff that's poo-poo and you put it in the poo-poo pile. But the rest of it is there. It's a wealth of knowledge. All I wanted to do in anything that I did on the magazines was share. Let people know. Give writers a chance to show what they can write and such. To give instructors, masters, grandmasters. Now I know I had some biggies in there, grandmasters and masters, but I had some that are not so biggie, or like you don't really know about. Those would just to share it all, just to have it, you know, everybody could know as much as they can. If I wrote an article on you or an issue, and you had 1 or 100, any there came to you and say, hey, I saw this article on you. I want to know more about it. And you got the student. That's what it's all about. I was teaching, we did the park things real quick. We did the park things in Arizona. We had a father and son, and they were going around because you would have like 10 instructors, master, whatever, and they would each share their art. And these guys are going around. They were participating, but they were talking to people to find what art they would fit into. Now, one of my fellow idiots there sent them my way. They sent them to everybody else. So that's all I can say to you. You know, to me, it's share.
I tell you.
I have a student and he wants to go to you. I'll say, okay, go. Are you coming back? If he says, we'll see. Well, if you're interested, stay with him because then you found something. If you come back, you're always welcome back because you're my student. But I've had so many instructors, especially in Arizona, they're very private, they're very controlling, they're very stingy with their students. My thing is to share. So Each of my magazines was to share an aspect of an art, healing, dancing, thoughts, anything you want to call it. Some of it was good, some of it was bad. You know, I had some people come, well, I'm going to sue you. Yeah, what are you going to take? I ain't got no money, doo-doo. You know,
it's a tough, man. Like, you know, you really
that's all my
devoted
thing was.
yourself. You know, it's tough. You devoted yourself. I
Me-
mean, like your own time and stuff, and like you didn't get paid for it, and all that. I mean, people don't understand that. Like, you're actually putting your time and resources. You know,
You know, it's a different thing. Like the FMA magazine, Filipino Martial Arts Magazine, Elliot Sure would sit at home and people would send articles to him. He'd make phone calls. Well, I like that if I don't have anything or if I can't go anywhere. But if I can go somewhere, I made the most I could because when, like I said, Philippines, you know, Davao, Cebu, Pampanga, Angeles, Manila, and I'd say, do you want me to meet you somewhere or will you come to the hotel? You know, I enjoy the people, so I didn't lose anything by going there.
Yeah.
All right. So I didn't lose anything because during the Navy, I did 15 some odd years in the Philippines. You know, Olongapo, San Miguel, and all this other stuff. So I didn't lose anything. I enjoy it. I enjoy the food. I enjoy the people. And I have a few there, friends. But I said, well, let's kill some time. So I'd interview as many people as I could. Yeah, David was the biggest help when I first started because he introduced me to a load of people. Peachy Sagan. I remember one time I went to her place. I think there was 20 masters and grandmasters there.
Oh, wow.
I had to interview each and every one of them. We went into her son's bedroom and I interviewed each and when I was down there today, that's the way I talked because I couldn't talk because I was interviewing so much. Okay. But I enjoyed it. I love it. I love talking to you. What do you know? What can you do? And you find out the good people from the phony. So it was a fantastic time. If I could ever come up, if I could print a regular magazine, you know, I took the 7 years of the quarterly issues for FMA Digest and I took out the future events. I took out all the advertising. I kept in past events, all the articles. 7 years, made 5 volumes. One volume, you know, like the first volume for the first year was like 30 some pages. But when I got to the 4th year, I was having quarterlies that were 250, 300 pages thick. That's with all the stuff I could put in. And like the 4th or 5th year, I would have 5 quarterly issues coming out instead of 4 because I had a lot of stuff and I didn't want to hold it. I had to put it out. I had to have everybody see it. You know, I couldn't just, well, I'll hold it till next month. No, I want to put it out. I want people to know. I sold that on Amazon for 2 years saying, okay, they order it, it gets printed. I sold the first copy, the first issue, the first year, one. Graham Frank bought the set, and that's it. So I just took it off Amazon and said, no one's interested.
Julius, did you have another? I'm sorry, Julius, do you have another question?
I just have a final point to make between the two of you. Like, FMA is a fickle mistress, and it's just sometimes it feels like it just takes, and you know it's kind of hurt some people a lot, and it's given a lot as well. Me and Dean were right about you, Steve. You have a huge heart, man, because you can't be a person
under that kind of
under your your Navy demeanor. You can't be a person with a small or weak ass heart to be able to do what you did for that long.
Kids and teach
exactly. You have a good heart, man.
Here's the problem with FMA, and I don't want to say it's a problem, but here's what I see. You have each style has their own little inner squabbles. Okay, every style has a squabble of one. There's no peaceful style that everybody loves everybody like a commune. You have the little squabbles. Sometimes they get outside, which is bad. Some just want that money. Where the money? Give me that money, baby. I knew guys in the Philippines that would go to masters. They didn't really know. They knew a little bit of something. They go to master. Can you make that grandmaster? Have him make me a master so I can make a living. And now I would always help, even if a student was trying to progress toward becoming an instructor, I'd try to help. But then that grandmaster, for the money, would give him a master so that guy could start. Well, I'm a master in Umptium. I'll charge you $50 a lesson. I know people have to make money, but there's respect, there's dignity in making that money and what you're going to give them. If you give them slop, then you ought to charge them slop. Everybody goes, well, Arnis Balite is not worth shit. Oh, excuse me, hoot. And I'll go, oh, well, yeah. You only charge $20 a month. I said, well, we can fix that. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a wooden floor in my garage. Okay? No, I'm going to rent a building. I'm going to put a wooden floor in there. I'm going to put mirrors along the walls. Now, you don't want me to do that because I'll beat you up because you have a partner training there. And if he screws up, you screwed up, so you might as well get hit. I'll put in all these bags. Okay? Now I'm going to be paying all the utilities and stuff, right? You go, yeah? Okay, so you can come to my garage where I have some bags. I don't have a mirror to where you can get beat up. I teach you for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, full, everything going. I hold nothing back. We're going good. Or I can get all this stuff, kind of half-ass teach you for, an hour or so and charge you about $150 a month because I got to pay all these bills and I have to buy all the equipment and I have to do the mirrors. So you got to pay for that. So I'm in the garage. I got my thing. I can go and walk through a door, take a tinkle on the floor because it's my house and walk back out and start teaching again.
Yeah.
We can sit around, relax. There's nothing. I have to pay utilities anywhere. Anyway. So ain't nothing.
Formula.
So that's the way. When we had our school in San Diego, if people came, they'll remember, we charged $40 a month. We ended up paying to make up for it, but we didn't mind because we enjoyed what we were doing. That's like the digest, the informative, Kuntaw, trackbook, notebook, Balite, anything I do, I enjoy it, so I don't mind. I only charge for teaching because if you don't, people will take advantage and they'll say, well, I'll come now. Maybe next month I'll come twice. Maybe then I'll come there. At least if they did, at least I know if I got their $20 and they come once a month, I got $20 I can go buy food or something with. Maybe rent out a cheap hooker. I mean, you never know.
You have a big heart, man. Me and Dean were right about you.
Anything I can do about anything, anybody, I'll do it. If I can help them write a book, if I can do this and that, if it gets to traveling again and I don't have to wear 3 masks here, goggles here, put a patch on my butt in case I fart and spread COVID, or something like that, I'll be happy to travel to the Philippines again. If the gas here, I don't have a Sunbeam car, so I got to use gas. It don't get expensive. I'll be glad to travel around here just to talk to people. I don't have to teach.
Yeah.
You ain't interested, that's fine. Then I ain't interested in teaching you.
Yeah.
If you're interested, then I'm interested.
Well, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna also thank Bram. I mean, obviously, he was instrumental in helping getting you on, but this has been absolutely wonderful. And needless to say, this won't be the last you'll be hearing from me.
No way.
Yeah, well, not that.
Oh, we got more stories.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Last time I spoke to you through Messenger last year, we spoke for like 2 different 90-minute sessions. It was like 3 hours, man.
Wow.
All you got to do is go to Messenger, get me on there, and you can talk anytime you want. Just remember, my fingers get tired because I'm old. And so I end up calling you. My students go, God, we hit you in the hand. It doesn't matter. I said, my hand's so old and has been hit so many times. Who cares anymore? I don't feel nothing.
We're all gonna end up with carpal tunnel. Man,
Steve, let's go to a FMA World Festival next year. Go.
They probably Philippines, man. The way it is, dirty Doherty will probably have it in martial law, so he's not kicked out of office, and you'll have all the Chinese in there for sure.
It's my happen, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, hopefully, obviously, hopefully by summertime, hopefully things will start to clear up. I mean, gosh, I can't imagine.
I hope so.
Going through a whole nother.
Well, Manila's all locked down now, stage 4.
Yeah, I was talking.
Even in the U.S., they said you ain't flying. I had a couple here, a man and woman just retired, and they have a house there. They bought a house, sold their house here, live in an apartment. Their flight got canceled because they're not allowed to go to the Philippines right now. So they're stuck with nothing, and they got to try to find a new apartment to live in so they can get a plane to go to the BI to retire. So I think Philippines is going to be gone for about another year or so. Then there, you better be able to go, so get that shot so you can do that. Just say, you be able to do that stuff. You might start Tagalog when you start, but you'll be all Chinese when you end up, baby.
I mean, dude, they got a freaking Manchu thing going on, Manchurian candidate nonsense going on for sure. It's sad, man.
I tell you.
See, I don't wear a mask because I tell them it's medical. And they'll go, man, I had a woman says, you're not wearing a mask. I said, well, you know what? I have to thank you that you are. And she says, oh, yeah. I said, well, actually, there's 4 reasons. For one, you might have it, so I thank you for not giving it to me. For number 2, your breath might be so bad that you're covering it up. For number 3 is you ain't been to the dentist for 4 or 5 years, so them old snagglies, man, ain't worth shit. And number 4 is, you're pretty ugly. Without that mask, you might be able to make a horror film. I said, but there's one thing I can give you. And she said, what can you give me? I said, I can give you hoof and mouth. And she says, cattle only gets hoof and mouth. I said, no, I'm talking about my foot in your mouth. Okay, so is that enough?
Oh, I love you, Steve. Come back.
In fact, everybody that's watching, I'm gonna go get the shot.
You're gonna need it if you go over there, man. Got to stop that language.
You gotta pick up Mandarin or something because they're gonna take over.
This has been an absolute I appreciate it. This has been great. So I'm gonna download it. This will go on the channel. But needless to say, we would love to have you back. Needless to say. So
just remember, depending on the time, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays are out because I teach.
No, we'll accommodate you Saturday.
We'll accommodate you weekend for sure.
Yeah.
For this kind of humor, I clean the toilet, so I can't do it Wednesday either. Every Wednesday, got to clean the bathroom.
No. For this free entertainment,
old people get up in the evenings, and when they pee, it goes all over the place. So every Wednesday, I got to clean the toilets and stuff.
No,
you never know.
Believe me, we'll make it happen. We'll
all
come.
right.
I mean,
and I want to thank everybody came on, David.
Oh yeah,
Dan,
absolutely.
Tom. They're all great people. I'm going to tell you, the great people came on.
No, 100%. They've all been very supportive of what we do here. Yeah, absolutely. Terrific people. Yeah.
And I would support them anytime that I can, and will anytime that I can. You don't ask, I don't know.
Steve, Dean is like the Joe Rogan or Oprah of FMA. Larry King.
Well, as long as he doesn't do the Prince and the other idiot from England, it's good.
Larry King of FMA.
Hey, that's all right. You got to do it. As long as you do it and you spread it, that's fine. If it ever
We're
comes off
trying.
YouTube, always have a copy so you can put it on a website. Sell them if you can sell them. I mean, you know, you don't have to ask a lot. I know I spent all that money doing all them FMA books that I actually published. Oh, I didn't make no money. I just gave them away. But anyway, the thought of it is share as much as you can. Make it available as much as you can.
Yeah.
And get young people. That's the future of FMA.
No. These systems,
young people.
100%. If we don't start a farm team, these systems will die. Yeah, some will die.
My family system will die if I don't teach it to anybody. Yeah, it'll die. My dad doesn't know it.
Just remember, don't hit the young people too hard.
Yeah. So between now and the next time, you're going to have to think of some great new jokes, some great stories.
Oh, I got them. I got them. We'll go day by day, man. That's no problem.
All right, anyway, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure talking to you two.
Oh my God.
Y'all take care of each other, and I got to clean up my coffee that I spilled 2 hours ago, and then I'm going to make a phone call to somebody I said I would. So you guys take care. Get on. Maybe I'll make I think I'm live on Facebook right now because of this, because you got to put your name. So go on there and friend me, and I'll say, oh, okay, and that way you'll be on my the Talks thing that they have.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, appreciate it. Sure.
All right.
Well, thank you again, sir.
Thank you all, and you all take care, eh?
All right. Take care.
Be safe. Be prosperous.
Yeah. I'm going to try.
Now, for our next, that was spectacular.
That was a good one. Folks, also, he still has these books. So those who are interested in either one, just you could private messenger Steve Dowd, and he's still got these. Okay, those are interested. Next one, we got Monday. There's going to be a special episode. Matter of fact, I'm going to be making the flyer pretty soon. You know that, Julius, you got anything?
Well, that's for next month still. I do want to remind people, in order to get the back order issues of FMA Digest, you go to I think it's Maharlika, right? Is it Maharlika.net?
Correct. Yeah.
So just search that out, and everything's in there. You can download everything through PDF.
Yeah, one of us should put that in the comments section. Yeah,
I have to put that in the comment section. Yeah, and man. That last section, the last 10 minutes, that was like an infinitely quotable one. That was like all tear jerkered up from like comedy. What did he say? He's like, FMA made me healthy but not wealthy.
Healthy but not wealthy. Needs to say, he will be back. Entertainment like that, you know, I can't pass that up, man.
No, he's so infinitely quotable. I mean, did he take some kind of writing, like, degree or something like that?
I think it's just wisdom, the years being around. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I don't know. But all right, folks, this is good. I want to thank you, those who watched, commented, submitted questions. If again, look out for Monday night show. It'll be matter of fact, and it'll be held within the FMA discussion group. That'll be on the flyer and all that. But definitely look out for that one.
I do want to address one final thing before we leave. For all the Derobio people in here, I talked to some of the people at the Philippine consulate, so we will get some of the government involved. We will do a Leyte Samar-centric episode in May 23. But before we go over the Pulahan movement that came, we have to first talk about what happened before that, which was the Katipunan Spanish-American War, Spanish-Filipino War, and the Philippine-American War that will lead up to it. So
good stuff coming down the pipeline.
Thank you.
All right. So me and Julius are out. We thank you again. And if we don't see you, have a great rest of your weekend.